Back to tonight on 4, where we meet someone who has the art of the possible at his fingertips. Farmer, musician, Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull.
And his daughter throw soft shadows on the water in the night. A thin moon slips behind them as they pull the net with no betraying light. Later on the coast road, I meet them, and the old man winks a smile. And who am I to pass deny the right to take a fish once in a while? You know I'd love to love you and love you, there's no other. We'll go walking out while others shout of war and disaster. Oh, we won't give in, let's go living in the past.
Now you're so all over the guitar. Right. Mind the guitar at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Because otherwise, if I'm drinking the beer, I'm going to stop playing.
Okay.
If he tries to hold it, I try to drink it, it's going to go all over my
I'll just hand it to you.
Yeah, but I won't take it straight away. I'll go, and then I'll go. And if we go wrong into rock and roll,
Sure.
it's supposed to be long.
And if we're running
way over time.
Cowbell, somebody?
Okay.
Bongo mic, somebody. Where's that 421? Yeah. Does it run right over
We've still got restrictions. I would like to think that one way or another I probably would have come back to a corner of Scotland, being Scottish by birth. Whatever had been my career, in the 15 months since I did my last sort of major tour, I've just devoted myself really to being up here for 2 or 3 days every week, commuting up from England or commuting down to England, depending on which way you look at it.
Thanks for that, Peter.
Hello, Mr. Anderson.
Hi, Judy. How are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Mail.
Mail,
Right.
paper.
Potato.
Are you hungry?
Well, actually, not really. I better get on with things. Is there
Yeah.
any phone messages?
Yes, there's 3.
Terrific.
You and Hillary, Robert Kelly, and Philip Thorne.
To buy the estate wasn't so terribly expensive, but it took a lot of very serious thinking and soul-searching about the sort of commitment that I would make. But I certainly didn't go into it thinking that, you know, I'm going to run off to Scotland, have this sort of idyllic life, sitting here in the wilds and composing music, and everything would be hunky-dory. Hello, Robert. Yeah, it's Ian. I've just got in, a bit late as usual. Okay, well, I'm just going to get some coffee and sort out a few things, and I'll see you later. Strathaird Estate is basically a peninsula of something like 15,300 acres or thereabouts, which takes in on its northern boundaries a fair chunk of the Black Coolins. These days, I should think half of the residents of Strathaird Estate in the summer are actually holiday home owners. I suppose there are something like 50 odd crofts here. There's nothing like the permanent crofting community that there was, and indeed a lot of them no longer really actively, individually work their crofts. The estate farm is really only about 350 acres of sort of in-by land and hill grazing over another few thousand acres. 6,000 acres of it are probably pretty vertical. Once upon a time in an aeroplane, I read in one of these dreadful in-flight magazines that are full of nothing, something about farming salmon somewhere. And that must have caught my overtired imagination on the way back from America or something, and just sounded like an interesting and slightly revolutionary thing to do. I've always been keen on farming, notionally anyway, even in a traditional agricultural sense, but the idea of alternative farming something a bit more romantic and a bit more risky, sort of caught on. So when this estate came on the market, I managed to make a successful bid for it, basically predicated on the fact that there was a suitable or an apparently suitable sea loch, which looked like it would be a workable environment for rearing salmon. The thing about buying an estate like this is all very well if you happen to be in a period of your life where you're relatively high earning, to say, I can afford to rush out and buy this and maybe even spend a few bob to, you know, tart the place up and make it look nice. But as a responsible landowner, you've got to think a little bit beyond that, and maybe even a generation or two beyond that, and say, well, can we afford to keep this? Is it going to be a millstone around our necks within 5 years' time? Or it's important for me going into this to have some idea of getting income, of making the estate, if not profitable, at least reducing the loss. Ian McKinnon, having struggled to try and keep the hill flock going during the long decline of Strathayr estate, well, I should imagine he thought it was really from bad to worse as far as he was concerned.
We just didn't know what to think, actually. I can remember a comment made at the time was to a neighbour of mine was probably we'll end up growing poppies it was in the garden by the Kilmarie house, actually. So that was sort of the flippant comment made at the time. But you look on a pop star as somebody, you know, that's really not got an awful lot of go in him. But I couldn't say that about Ian at all when he came on the scene. He's a good farmer.
I was warned by the late Willie McRae of the Scottish Nationalist Party that you know, it was a big mistake coming up here or buying Strathayr. It was a big mistake to be involved in any way with the sort of complexities of the social scene up here, that I would not be respected, I would not be liked, you know, and all the rest of it. I argued with Willie McRae about this and said, well, I just don't believe that people are that simple-minded.
Where are these off to?
Well, most of them possibly are going down to eastern counties in England. As we're selecting lambs there today for a special market. Well, everybody's looking now for this lamb with a bit of length to it, a bit of scope to it, to grow on, get more weight on without becoming fat.
Mm-hmm. And we've got no problems in moving these, no restrictions, no nuclear lambs here.
No, we don't. We have had tests done by the ministry and readings were very low. We've had some lambs even off the farm here itself, and they were giving us readings of about 180 spectros per kilo, which is, you know, very low.
Which is very low considering the high rainfall we have here. I think if anyone was going to get clobbered, we would, but...
I would have thought so, but...
They're not glowing in the dark.
Fortunately, they're not. No. He's taken a fair interest in the running of the estate. He's been to the farm, you know, practically every week. In this past year, I just don't know how he can carry on, you know, doing as much travelling as he does do. That's a good thing about Ian. He's not sort of an absentee landlord.
On the credit side, Ian Anderson is here. He's doing something. There is some economic activity. There's some employment. And that is a lot more that can be said for many more of these people. On this estate, for instance, the previous one, the fellow that Anderson bought it from, was a man called David Lewis, who was a straightforward property speculator based in London, who bought it speculatively and thought he could sell it speculatively, and in the interim did nothing. So you have 15,000 acres of this country which lay derelict for the duration of his stewardship.
Brian Wilson's got nothing on me when it comes to, you know, running around and pointing the finger at some, you know, scum of the earth who are still, you know, landed gentry around Scotland. It really annoys me to see run down. I mean, they refuse to give up. They refuse to quit and call it a day. That's what really gets my goat.
Rural communities should not be subject to that lottery, that every time an estate changes hands, the lottery begins again, of whether it's going to be just yet another useless parasitical figure, or whether it's going to be someone who perhaps in the short term, perhaps for amusement, perhaps for serious and decent purposes, is prepared to invest in it.
The last few years I've been doing part-time on the estate, gathering and dipping and all that, bits of fencing. A lot of them probably won't know me yet. They just know of him as Ian Anderson. Probably a lot of them haven't met him. Be quite a few that haven't. Most of the younger ones, I suppose.
What about the older folks in Elgol?
I don't think they'll ever have met him. They wouldn't. I don't suppose they would be interested anyway. Landlord would be a landlord to them. Nothing, just no matter who it was just all one to them.
It's pointless getting really self-conscious about this thing about being the laird and the crofters being your tenants who pay your rent and all that. I mean, it's no big deal. But I mean, I'm sure it's no big deal to them either. I mean, it really isn't. We tripled the rents a few years ago. For the first time, the rents went up from, you know, an average of about £4 a year per croft. We put them up to an average of about £12 per year per croft, because we decided that rather than not collect the rents, that we would make available from the estate every year a sum of money equal to the rents that we'd collected to be used on something for the good of crofting. And somebody else might say, well, you could afford to give them 20,000 a year or build a new village hall or whatever else. They wouldn't respect me for that. The work ethic for the crofting community has always been based on the idea that you don't do anything for too long. If you can help it, that you're able to switch and, you know, maybe run a few sheep or a few cattle. You might be milking a cow in the morning, or you might not. You might go and pick winkles on the beach, or you might not. Or you might be ferrying tourists across to Loch Carrusk, or you might not. And it's that sort of freewheeling spirit, which on the one hand you can applaud because people survive doing those, you know, bit of this, bit of that sort of idea. They manage to make a living. You can applaud it on the one hand, but at the same time you get the feeling that there are some people who are good workers, who are skilled in certain areas, and yet who never quite seem to buckle down to the idea of getting on and really being successful at a particular thing.
Hi Robert, how are you? Okay. How are you? Not too bad, good trip. Yes, not too bad. Reasonable day again. How do you like the look of the new cages? Well, I think they're very nice, but nice if we get rid of that orange netting. Yeah, well, I made a bit of a boo-boo there. I should have got it black, really. Yeah.
I used to work for Ian on the road. I was Jethro Tull's tool manager. At that time, I had a very young family, and I used to miss them quite a lot. And I felt that I should be spending more time at home. So I was looking for something completely different, really, where I could be with my family. And at that time, Ian had recently bought this estate, and just started in the fish farming. So I went off and did a year's course at agricultural college, and then came up here. And at that time, there was just one cage of fish in the lock there.
Do you miss the rock and roll business?
No. We've got 3 or 4 sites now, and I really oversee everything when Ian's not here. We're almost halfway through an expansion program. We've set up 2 new freshwater sites this year and 1 new seawater site. By the end of next year, we should be doubling our production of salmon for the market, which will be about 200 tonnes, and producing 500,000 smolts.
Right, Robert, we've got a couple of applications that come through to me at the house.
Yeah.
People interested in...
Oh yeah, I know that. I know that girl. So we could, I could have a word with her, see what she's looking for, and see if she's suitable.
That's right. 'Cause, I mean, again, it depends. I mean, presumably she's looking for something full time. You can explain to her sort of what the potential might be. This one is he's 34. Is he from Achnacarry?
Yeah, he's got a degree in agriculture.
That's right. And he's got no background at all in fish farming, but I spoke to him on the phone yesterday. As he puts it, he's only 100 yards up the road. He's actually the 4th house down in the Crofting Township, so he's probably only a couple of 100 yards actually away from the site.
Well, it'd be very
So,
handy.
that, from an emergency point of view, even if he's off duty, he's obviously going to be very close to deal with things. And if he does have an agricultural degree, presumably some practical experience to back that up, he may be of the right sort. We always set off by trying to advertise any local job locally. Where you've got a site manager, he's got to have at least 2 or 3 years practical experience of running a fish farm. The chances are he is going to come from somewhere else, maybe not from England, but probably somewhere else in Scotland. But coming in behind all the time to train as site managers for our expanding sites, our increasing number of sites, then obviously we're trying to get the local people to do the job. If you can catch them before they're unemployed, before they're on the dole, catch them before they even leave school, and if possible, persuade them that fish farming isn't just a 100 quid a week plus bonus as a job. It's actually a career. I mean, hopefully fish farming on the West Coast is here to stay. It is a career future for a lot of people who are currently still at school wondering what to do. The thing that most people find slightly amusing is the idea that somebody who's been involved in rock and roll and spent time treading the boards and leaping up and down in front of 10,000 people a night or whatever it might be should be doing something seemingly totally opposed, not just as a hobby, but as a serious pursuit. However, I mean, having been doing it now for 7 years, I don't think it's actually so very different at all. I mean, I always think that farming salmon is pure rock and roll. I mean, it's instead of having a production manager, you have a farm manager. Instead of having a road crew, you have your husbandrymen who are out there working on cages. It has the same sort of glamour and excitement and bustle about it, and the same degree of risk at the end of the day. sense that we will always be the archetypal underground group, which is what we were when we started. And apart from really a brief period in the late 60s, early 70s, where we were, if you like, a pop group, in the sense that we were very much top 20 with singles and albums, most of our career, which is now 18 years or whatever it is, we've been an underground group. I mean, we still play to, 10, 15, 20,000 people or whatever if we go out and do major events, but you ask the man in the street and some people might have heard of us, some people haven't. I think that's great. It's nice to be able to play both ends, to be somehow anonymous, and yet when it suits you, you can go out and have people stand up and applaud.
So when is Christy coming home?
Well, Jill popped in on Sunday and he's got a couple of wolf teeth to be pulled, so it'll probably be the end of the week.
I was in New York towards the end of an American tour. We got Country Life magazine flown in, which was our sort of lifeline with normality, to read the estate agents' columns in Country Life. We saw this and several other houses advertised, and we wanted to be somewhere within about an hour's drive of London, but in the country as opposed to in town. We went to look at 3 or 4 houses. This one seemed okay, and we bought it. And we didn't really expect to stay here for more than a couple of years, but one thing leads to another, like babies, and we've sort of just been here ever since.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm fine.
What have we got?
I've got some things to sign, for you to sign, and I've also had a complex message from Philip Thorne. And,
Well, shall I do these? Because I better crack on at the studio job.
Hang on. I need to sign those 4, A, B, C, D. That's right.
Right. What are they, by the way? What am I signing?
It's,
No, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Has Philip called you about that thing on the dam?
Yes, he has. I've got the message there.
Oh, great.
It's quite complicated, though. That one.
Fine. That's urgent.
Yeah.
Right. I'll be in the studio, okay? When I was quite little, I hankered after the arts side of things. I mean, I was quite keen on drawing and painting, and not music, because I knew nothing about music then. I don't know that much about music now, academically or formally, but knew nothing at all about it then. Having got into the science stream, you know, in my secondary education, I really didn't know which way to go. I'm still sort of following those two separate sides of my life now. The wistful, romantic side of making music is great, but it has to be supported by a basic technical understanding and technical level of expertise, and I enjoy doing both. I hate to work with other people. I'm doing my bit, the vocals or whatever. If I'm sitting here, I just love to be in the room by myself.
1, 2.
She said she was a dancer. If I believed it, it was my business. She surely knew a thing or two about control. Next to the bar we hit the samovar. She almost slipped right through my fingers. It was snowing outside and in her soul. Well, maybe you're a dancer, and maybe I'm the king of old Siam. I thought it grew best to let the illusion roll. And maybe I'm the king of old Siam. I thought it grew best to let the illusion roll. I wouldn't say I've never heard that thing before, my frozen little senorita. But if your dream is good, why not share it when the nights are cold? Hey Moscow, what's your story? Baby, take your time, don't hurry. Maybe a student of the agricultural plan. Hey Moscow, what's your name? If you don't want to say, don't worry. It would probably be hard for me to make it scan. With a phrase book in her silk soft hand, she spoke the riddles while the vodka listened. I said, let me look out loud if I might be so bold.
It would be silly for me to be trying to be involved in running the farm down here because I don't have that background in this kind of farming.
Hi, Dale.
Hello. Not too bad.
What are you doing?
Just greasing this up, ready to make a start again.
If we ever can. If we ever can.
Well, that's it.
Do you know where
It's
Frank
far
is?
better that Shona gets on with doing that because she actually likes it. She knows a lot more about it now than I do, or I ever will.
There's an awful lot I don't know. But I think that's what's so nice about farming. I mean, people who've been in it all their lives and their parents before them, they're still learning. I mean, you never know it all.
So it's a labour of love for you.
I really enjoy it.
Are you managing to turn over a profit on the farm so far?
I'm still, as the Americans say, in a healthy profit-making situation. But I've obviously got to safeguard those profits in the light of the trends on, you know, the excess of cereals produced by this country. Hence diversifying. I think we're going to have to rotate far more than we have been doing and go back to a truly mixed farm that's rotated.
And are you left entirely on your own to run the place here?
Oh yes, Ian has no interest in this side of it at all, which I think works very well.
I enjoy having guests to shoot, and we also have to look at alternative means of utilising our land. We've sold this last year, only a couple of days. We'll probably sell 4 days next year, of very good high pheasant sport. Are these guns, will they be walking back or are they staying here?
Well, Tosh is coming up, he'll have to come up here, right? And then he's taking the second dog leg. There's a dog leg here, right? And then the next dog leg, that's where he'll stay.
Right.
The rest of the guns will take that position.
Okay, because I think he knows that. He thought he was standing. As I said, I assume you'll be walking up here. As the driver started, said, no, I've been told to stand here.
No, he hasn't.
But anyway.
He hasn't. Not yet.
I said, you do what you've been told. I said,
no,
leave me out of it.
The peg is up on the second dog leg.
It is a sport when it's done properly. It isn't a wholesale slaughter. I mean, here we don't rear a great many birds. About 1,500 go down every year, out of which we shoot about half. The other half become the wild birds of next year. I suppose they either sit very, very tight or they just run on through. When we started writing songs nearly 20 years ago, I seem to remember sitting in a bed sitter with things like mandolins and acoustic guitars, and back then it was all very woody, and things started from very gentle beginnings and then grew into rock and roll when you actually got into rehearsals. The thing that we have now is, it's like just having a big sketchbook with a lot more scope to explore ideas.
Don't you start away uneasy, or your poor old heart. You see, it's only a me. Oh, you know it's only a me. Wait! Sun streaking cold, and I'm now wandering her way, taking time the only way to feed her girls. Man, as he bends to pick a dog, and he goes down to the bottom with beats. The feeling alone, they on the top of the road, salvation and alone, and a cup of tea.
it's Ian Anderson here. How are you? Thought I'd just give you a quick buzz to see how things are going. I noticed up at the dam, for a start, you're sort of off that one again at the moment. Oh dear. Right, well, I'm hoping to hear something from the HIDB next week about whether they're going to approve this emergency grant for our extra dam buttressing work. So hopefully we'll be in a position to decide fairly soon what the timescale of that part of the operation is going to be. Great. All right, John, sorry to bother you at the weekend. Cheers. Bye now. The commitment to the hill farm as part of the commitment to the estate as a whole has to be continued resolutely through thick and thin. We obviously face in hill farming an obvious downtrend at the moment in terms of the possibility of even breaking even, which we just about managed to do. So how did the bull perform then?
Well, the bull's done quite well, actually. It's only being a 14-month-old bull, you know, one's got to be kind of easy on him, but he's done his job very well indeed. And hopefully we should get a good crop of calves off him next year.
Yeah. We have certain restrictions placed upon us here in farming terms by the weather, by the type of land we have, which is relatively very poor grazing, even our best grazing. You put caravans on it in the south of England.
You know, if it's damp at all, and there are rushes there that seem to come back, you know, they're just...
It's the harsh reality up here that there's very little you can do on the land. There's not much room for the flexibility that you need in order to keep pace with the changing demands of the market. The shelter belts up here, I mean, these are obviously going to be uneconomic to plant up again in that sort of configuration. I mean, for a start, they're going to have to be clear-felled at some point to make it viable to take them out at all.
There'd be something going for getting trees in there on the far side of that plantation at the moment. Something that, you know, would have a couple of years up before you clear-fell what's there. At least it would give you a start on you know, new shelter.
Well, whatever happens, we're going to have to wait and see what the next round of grants are going to be like before we can make up our minds where to move.
That's right.
However charitable you might be about salmon pens, cages in the water, they are a bit of an eyesore. Being rather geometrical shapes in the water, they don't look that pretty. So, I mean, that's the way they affect most people in the most direct way. It's just the fact that it's a visual sort of impinging on a view that they've taken for granted for years and years and years. Personally speaking, I don't find them that much of an eyesore in relation to perhaps the option of seeing, you know, red and yellow sailed pleasure boats or whatever occupying the same bit of water, or perhaps people fishing in the conventional sense, prawn creels or whatever else. A fact of life is people out there on the water earning their living day to day. We actually do have the right environment for growing North Atlantic salmon, and we can actually grow better than it seems anybody else in the world can do it. So Scottish salmon really is a very exciting thing to be involved in.
Aye, that's fine, then you take that.
We have considered processing salmon on Skye, but I think given the expansion that we're undertaking in salmon farming, we need something a bit more central and something a bit better able to deal with the tonnage throughput that we would have 2 or 3 years down the line. But we chose to have an all-Scottish sort of setup. So Inverness was the choice back in 1982, and I think it was the right choice. If it wasn't Inverness, it could only have been in London. Smoked salmon is a very, very competitive business. We can't supply a single hotel or a single little restaurant or delicatessen in London the way the London smokers can, so we tend to deal more in bulk. So we supply people like Harrods and Selfridges, and probably we will continue to base most of our sales on the export trade. That's really the biggest growth area, particularly in the US, where they don't really know yet what smoked salmon is. It's a sobering thought that this particular site has probably been the centre of human habitation in this particular area for about 3,500 years now, starting with the Neolithic people who built their burial mound just 100 yards up the river there, and ending with the laird and the big house, you know, which is only in the last 100 years or so. But the 3,500 years of people being born, living and dying around this particular area, I mean, must leave behind some kind of a trace of presence. And I'm not one for spooks and bogeymen, but I can remember fishing up the river just by the Beakers people's mound, and one night, probably about 10 o'clock as it was getting dark, and I was with my big black dog who was at my side, and suddenly every hair on the animal's back shot up, and he slunk back across the bridge, and he would have, I mean, whatever I did, he would not come back to me, and just made a beeline for the house. And, you know, the hairs on the back of my neck went up as well, like there was 1,000 eyes on the back of my neck. It is terrifying sometimes. Probably not terrifying, but sort of awe-inspiring in the sense that you really do feel you've got those people watching over you, you know, to see whether you're doing right or doing wrong. what motivates me is not actually this environment per se, but it's the very stark contrast between this way of life up here and the way of life in the south. I mean, my way of life doesn't change that much, but it's what I perceive around me that's obviously different. I suppose I recharge my batteries, not so much by actually being here, but by coming here and by going back again. It's the physical movement from one place to the other that I find stimulating.
Well, there's a house on the hillside where the drifting sands are born. They found and let the slow tide wash me back to the land where I came from, where the mountain men are kings, and the sound of the Bible counts for everything, where the real mountain men are kings, and the sound of that Bible counts for everything. Feel the naked dust beneath my toes, while the future sun calls winds to blow, and the past and present black-eyed crow flies hunting high and circling low between dream mountains of our Eden.